Hello, everyone. Welcome to NuPath Live. My name is Dan Harris, and I'm your host. Today is February 10th, 2022, and we are going to talk to Karen Franklin a little later about some things that are going on that are important to our staff and indirectly to our families. But there's been something on my mind I wanted to share a little bit with you and maybe take you back in time a little bit. The time is, this is going back to when I was 23 years of age. It was Tuesday, April 24th, 1990, at precisely 12:33 p.m. from the John F. Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And this was the launch of the Hubble Space Telescope. As a kid, 23, I was just fascinated with it and enamored. Of course, we didn't have all the technology of today. We didn't have the YouTube channels and all of the social media around it. But this telescope, largest ever launched into space at the time, entered the near-Earth orbit and has been there now for 31 years, taking pictures of our universe that we have never seen before. Of course, a little side note on that, we know that the mirror had been incorrectly polished, and it required intervention from spacewalks and astronauts going to do it. But the images that have come since that point in time, in fact, the last 3 years, I've had calendars on my wall in my office that show some of the secrets of the universe that the Hubble has shared with us. And I thought I'd share 5 of my most favorite images over time. First one is the Eagle's Nebula, Pillars of Creation. This is a structure of gaseous, just supercharged, heated inferno of where astronomers believe that galaxies and new stars are created at a level that can hardly be fathomed. The next one that I kind of like is called the Rows of Galaxies. Each of these fine points, these points of light in this rose-like structure, are new galaxies that are swirling around in one particular area of the universe. The next one is it's called an extreme star cluster burst into life. This is a I don't know how many stars, but embroiling in this supercharged, superheated environment. And the next one is the Antennae galaxies in deadly embrace. These are 2 galaxies that are the size of the Milky Way that are twisted together. I'm an armchair astronomer, don't pretend to really know much of anything except that it just fascinates me beyond measure. And these are things that the Hubble has encapsulated. The last one is the Horsehead Nebula, that is just really cool looking. And so that brings me then to the Hubble that we've loved so much. But this on Saturday, December 25th, of this past Christmas, 2021, at 12:20 p.m. from French Guiana off of the coast of South Africa, another launch happened, and that was the James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST. Now, this is the most incredible endeavor and the most complicated and involved event to date that has been attempted. And scientists say that there were 300 fail points as this was launched, and over its trip of over 1.2 million miles from the Earth, there were these 300 points that things could have failed, but this thing has opened up. It has a heat shield to protect it from the sun that is the size of a tennis court. It had to be all folded up like origami into this payload of this rocket. This giant mirror that is made from these various octagons and is currently being calibrated. And it hurled through space doing all of this until it reached its final destination at a point called Lagrange Point 2. There's 4 points in orbit around the Earth and Sun that would allow positioning for something like this, so that it requires the least amount of energy to stay in orbit, and kind of floats in a complex fashion between the Earth, the Sun, the Moon, and will take photographs of our universe as it travels around. Scientists say that this is going to help us see to the dawn of time, to how things, what sorts of things were happening right after the Big Bang, during what they call the dark ages of the formation of our universe, and will give us insights into things that we have never before been able to see to any extent. Knowledge is power. That's why astronauts go into space. That's why we send our satellites out. That's why we send these NASA explorations. And I've been thinking about that, not only because I'm fascinated about what's going to happen with the JWST, but because we're talking about giving our staff knowledge, having knowledge, being aware of what's happening in our programs, helping people to make decisions. It's something we've been talking about. And it kind of leads me to the focus for this next year as we think about it. I think I mentioned it at last week's NuPath Live. Things are starting to gel up a little bit more. New in 22, you know, we've been through to hell and back with the pandemic, and we talked about back to better a year ago when we were trying to get people back and trying to get back to something that resembled something that we once knew. And now we're thinking about what's new. What are we going to do new? And maybe let's stop worrying about so much about getting back to something we once knew, but aspire for new things. There may be better things waiting. And you know, this amazing amazing marvel of technology is hurtled 1.2 million miles away. It's too far away. If there's a mirror that wasn't polished correctly, we're not sending any manned mission to fix it. That thing propelled through space and did not look back toward the Earth, nor will it ever, because the sun shield will prevent it from doing so. And it's an infrared camera, so it couldn't. And that's what we're doing. We're gonna go into deep space, and we're gonna not look back, and we're going to see what challenges are ahead of us. So that's gonna be evidenced in a number of different ways. And we are going to bring Karen Franklin on to talk to us about some things that are happening, some new things, and kind of give us an idea of where things stand with our current employment, how the referral program is working out, in addition to just having a chat about some other things that are going on within NuPath. So let's bring Karen on now. There she is. Hey, Karen.
Hi, Dan.
How you doing?
Very good today. Thanks for having me.
So you heard about my little fascination with the James Webb Space Telescope, and talking about my going back as far as 1990 when the Hubble launched, and then we know that the James Webb launched on December 25th at 12:20. You're in Florida at the moment, and you said that. Tell us about your experience. You just mentioned it. I think it's the coolest thing ever. You're close enough to see some of these satellites launch.
Yeah. So one of the things that so my sister lives right on the beach, and it's called Satellite Beach, and a lot of people go there to watch the launches off of Cape Canaveral. You can actually see them through a lot of Florida, but the closer you are to Cape Canaveral, you can see them. They have probably a couple per week, it seems, where they're launching satellites. Sometimes it's a big launch with people, and sometimes it's a launch of a satellite. And we were able to see one, capture it on film. And so you can see the smoke, and then you can actually, this one was fabulous. You could see the flame. You could see the rocket. You could see the boosters leave.
Wow.
And you can see it, but you hear it well after you can't see it anymore because of the way noise and sound and the sound barriers.
Yeah.
And then finally you see the boosters come back down, and they actually come back down and land in Cape Canaveral, and they call it a sonic boom, meaning you hear it, and I don't know how long you hear, but about 8 minutes after launch, you finally hear the sonic boom of the boosters coming back through the sound barrier. And it shakes the whole, it's like a little mini earthquake happening.
Well, I suppose if you didn't know that was coming, it'd be a little freaky.
And I did know it was coming, and I still jumped, so it was freaky.
in the spirit of new in 22 and knowledge is power, and we're not looking back, we're going forward. I thought we'd have you on today to talk about the state of affairs in a couple of areas, and I thought maybe we'd start. I think we've got a slide that shows some of the new hires that we've had. And when I got this information, I was thrilled, and it doesn't seem. I mean, there were years past where you'd hire easily 15 or 20 people in a month. You said that we only hired 15 in all of the previous year, and now we learned that there are some new people going to be joining us after this drought in getting new employees. Talk to us about what our success is.
So super exciting. You know, Lisa Fernandez really heads up of all our receiving our applicants and vetting them and doing all our job posting. So she shared with me, so I have kind of like last week and this week's stats. We launched our employee referral program, right, a year ago, December. And we've had one employee referral here and there. We've had 25 referrals in the month of January. So that's 25 people that work here that have decided that they have somebody that they'd like to refer to work here. Now we have a very good employee referral program running on right now where you get $1,000 for referring a friend, and your friend, if hired, gets $500. So you get these, if the person is hired, vetted, and starts, you get $1,000 and they get $500. So to see 25 people, 25 of our employees come forward and recommend NuPath to their friends and have them come in, we were thrilled.
And can I just stop you right there? If I think we determined this before, and if we didn't, I'm gonna just make an executive decision right now. We're talking on NuPath Live. You don't have to be an employee, I don't think, to get this bonus, do you? I mean, if a family member referred somebody here, I'd be very happy to pay them $1,000. You know, if somebody watching this knows of somebody, you're smiling. No, it's not a good idea. We'd figure it out. I mean, we it would be worth it to us to pay that money to get a good candidate and a good hire, don't you think?
Yeah, it would be. It's not something that we put it like a policy around or put a flyer out about, but absolutely, we are creative, we're forward thinking, and if somebody came forward and said, hey, my friend did this, you know, we would figure out something cool to do to thank somebody for referring somebody to NuPath.
Let's just say we're very motivated.
Motivated is
very
correct.
Motivated to get employees in here. And if any family members watching this has got a son, a daughter, somebody, a nephew, niece, somebody that would be interested, you should definitely take us up on that. So I interrupted you. You were talking about the referrals. So it sounds like things have taken off for that. It may have just taken that much time for people to really hear about it and understand. I mean, we talk about it. We make the announcement. We send it out via email. We talk about NuPath Live, and maybe it's months afterwards that it's like the James Webb Telescope seen light that's being emitted from the dawn of time. It takes that long for the message to be received from some of our employees, but maybe it'll start to gather some steam now.
Yeah, to me, it was a good sign, right? So we're coming off of what we're all saying is about 2.5 years of COVID. And people and having one of the biggest, vacancy rates that we've had as long as I've been at NuPath. To see this turn, to see people start applying, to see people referring their friends or family members is just, it gives you a really good feeling of how we're moving forward. We have a lot of vacancies to fill. Lisa Fernandez is doing a great job making sure that all the different tricks that we have out there, or initiatives, I should say. We have some help where we're having blast ads. Brett shared the amazing new website we have and how easy it is to apply. We've talked about this before, where we make sure that somebody is contacted within 24 hours. We don't let candidates sit there for a week before they hear from us. We have the videos that we send them and all the touch points. So we feel real good about seeing this. And out of that 25, 15 are in the works, meaning they've been interviewed, they're in the hiring process, and we're hopeful that they will start and go through the process.
No, I don't know what the plans are for new staff orientation, but I'll tell you what, I will come personally, and I will be happy to engage in any way you want to welcome this new cohort on board. It's been a long time since I even think we've had an orientation the way we used to every month, or every other month.
You're absolutely correct. We used to have about 20 people, usually at a minimum every month. Now we're doing orientations virtually, but we'll eventually get back into doing them in person when the time is right. But just to think that we might have 8 people in an orientation would be amazing. And the fact that they're spread out. We have a hire for Westford. We have some for residential. So
8, I think I saw 8 in residential.
Yeah, 8 for residential, 2 for Westford. We have some relief staff, somebody for New Boston Street, somebody just started for the Martin Center. So it's not like they're all coming in for just one position. I think that's a good sign.
That's fantastic. So that's excellent news. It's good to hear. Where are we in our COVID testing? I believe I heard that as of last week, we were down, significantly for the second week in a row. What can you tell us, maybe the past month, what our trend has looked like, or do we have reason to celebrate there too?
We certainly do. So I think that everybody realized that there was quite a spike, right, after the Christmas and New Year's holiday. It happened last year. It happened the year before. So we had about 27 positive people that first week or two in January, and we were really nervous about that. You have to shut down programs. There's such protocol that goes with that. Plus, when you're already in a staff deficit, to then have to lose those staff as well. As we progressed into the middle of the month, it got down to about 18. We tested last week, and just to remind everybody, we test twice a week. So we test on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We had nobody positive last week, so we were really excited about that. This week we did have 3, but 3 is a lot better than 27 at the beginning of the month. So sure, we're pretty, I hate to use the word endemic, but that's what people are saying. And I'm hoping that that's what this is a signal, that this is getting to the end, because I think we've all about had it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's another piece of really exciting news. We are in a kind of this transitional phase. You heard me mention new in 22, and it's kind of going to be the theme for this year. It marks a real a contrast to kind of where our thinking was a year ago. And can you believe that just a year ago we were getting our first vaccine? I mean, it's just extraordinary to think it's only been a year, but yet it seems like it's been 10. And in the spring of last year, you'll recall we launched our campaign Back to Better. We were coming back to work, back to community, back to friendships, back to coworkers, and feeling that I wouldn't say we were disappointed or yeah, I guess disappointed is a good enough word to use, with I guess the Delta variant that hit us in the summer, and then then later on in the year we faced the idea of the vaccine mandate, made the decision to do that, and that was kind of a difficult place of stress on the organization, and then the Omicron followed right behind it. So it didn't feel like we got back to much of anything, and now deciding that we're really going to be focused on what's new as we go forward. But part of that's always going to be making sure that we do everything we can in the most transparent manner possible. In the very fact that I've got my vice president of human resources and me, the CEO, talking frankly and openly in these public formats, I think demonstrates our commitment to that. Last week at our business meeting, we shared with staff a couple of features or a couple of ways that we're being transparent. One of them was our salary compensation kind of overview. Do you want to explain to people a little bit about that and sort of what we're hoping to accomplish with this group right now? It's just for the managers, directors, and the leadership team. If it's something that works, we'll think about doing it more broadly. But you want to just spend a couple of minutes talking about that?
They're compensation reports, very, very common for an organization to share with its staff. What does it actually cost to have a staff, right? Sometimes people only look at their own salary to kind of value their position. And we thought it was time now that we had the software and the ability to share with everybody what are you actually making, or what does it actually cost the organization to have that particular role there? So we were able to work with an outside agency to put together a really nice spreadsheet that explained to people, hey, this is your salary, but hey, look at some of these bonuses. Look at how much NuPath puts towards your life insurance, how much they put towards your health insurance, and really give you that bottom line. So you look and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't realize the amount of money or the investment that goes into each position that we have. We're doing different things. We did the compensation reports. We did a employee satisfaction survey. These are things that we want to do to, first of all, share with the people. You had mentioned transparency, but we want to hear from them as well. And so these things are going to help us make sure that employees are happy, make sure that they understand their compensation package, understand how competitive it is. We were able to put on these spreadsheets what other people in that position are making in the industry and where do they rank. And that's going to make people say, hey, okay, I didn't know that. I didn't know I was higher or equal or where I stood with some of the industry, standard salaries. And it's just all part of our retention and transparency and wanting to hear from the people and making people feel valued, like we talked about earlier today. Maybe people want to grow their career. Maybe they want to look at their compensation and say, yeah, I see my compensation, but I want more. And what we can do to help them achieve their success.
It's very well put, Karen. It's not just a tool for the staff, though. It's a tool for us as well, because I think I mentioned last week that as we were going through and preparing it, we became aware of certain situations where we realized that somebody had received a bonus, a longevity bonus, maybe they were due, or some other sum of money, or some sort of an increase that somehow they got missed. The more employees you have, you have as many different configurations of compensation as you do people in an agency. It seems to be, some people, maybe they don't take the health insurance, but they take, something else. Some people get a 403B match and other people don't participate in that program. So let's just say that there can be oversights and omissions in any large organization, and certainly there's many larger than us. But when you're dealing with over 400 employees, it's a lot of people to keep track of. And this is just another tool for us. Maybe it's a stopgap or a double check and balance. I don't know what you want to call it, for us to have another method that we can take a look. And also to our commitments around our diversity, equity, and inclusion, a way for us to, very quickly have a snapshot of how much do women make versus men, people of color versus others, making sure that we want everybody to be treated equally and fairly. And this is another way for us to do that, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so, this is what I was going to say is doing the right thing, being transparent is hard. It's hard. People love to talk about transparency until they have to be transparent. And then there is a great response, or they'll say, we're going to be transparent except in this area, or we're going to be only as much as we feel comfortable. The hardest thing ever is to make decisions when you know that it may expose you to criticism, to complaint, to some sort of a backlash. Nobody wants that. We all want to be in situations where people appreciate us and think we're great and we're a great organization. And so I think internally it was interesting. I guess it was last week we were at a vice president's meeting. You were there, and there was. Let's just say that not everybody in the room was as excited, enthusiastic about taking this step. But I feel like, sometimes you just gotta take that plunge. You gotta shoot for deep space and not look back and say, hey, we're gonna do this. It's the right thing to do. We'll figure things out. If we confront them. And I appreciate that, because I think you share that attitude with me.
Yeah, and I think staff, as long as they understand where it's coming from, that it's coming from transparency, that it's coming for them, like you said, to make sure that, hey, I think they might have missed something. Not that we make a lot of mistakes, but we did find one, like you had mentioned, and just overall letting people see and look at it. Now, understanding, I think the intentions of this kind of, I don't want to call it an exercise, but it is something common that organizations do. They share that kind of full comp package with people. And I think it's helpful information on both sides.
So what do you think what else is new in 22, Karen? Anything in the last couple of minutes we have before we wrap this up?
Well, I hate to bring up the big one where we might be looking at some new systems in the Human Resource Department because we want to do some better and more robust reporting. We want to be able to have employees have a better interaction, and getting back to what the compensation reports, some of this new software will have the ability to do that at a touch of a button. So employees will be able to have access, to that information, on a consistent and regular basis.
So you went there.
So I went there.
You went there. So that's a person after my own heart.
Teaser.
But so not to be too cagey about it, what we're talking about is possibly transitioning from our existing employee timekeeping and payroll to another system other than what we're currently using for Paycor. And it's been a long time coming, this decision, but and mostly staff are happy with the interface with the employee side of things, but internally, as you say, we're just not able to. We feel that we could do more with a different sort of a system. So it's a lot of work on your end, I know, and it's requiring a lot of due diligence to ensure that we've got everything squared away before we make that leap. Can you believe that when I became CEO in 2013, it's almost been 10 years, can't believe that, we paid weekly, we did all of our payroll in-house, and we didn't do weeks withholding when a person started. So if you started working on Monday, you got your first check on Friday. Wow. And it meant that payroll had to be submitted to the person that did the payroll. I think Lisa's crazy now. I don't know how they did it before, but you'd have to kind of forecast what you thought somebody was going to be working. But if they called in sick, then you'd have to make corrections the following week because you didn't have a week's withholding to get it all compiled. So we've come a long, long way since then. And the fact that we're talking about providing some of these metrics to people, I think is really extraordinary. And hey, we're getting up at the times. Actually, we're leading the way. What am I saying? I think
exactly
that a lot of the things that we're doing are not done, customarily done in other organizations. The other thing we're going to be doing at some point, I hope in the future, I'll keep reminding us of it, is we want to look at some of the results for our employee survey that we did. We appreciate that people took the time to do that. And again, it's another example of something that's not easy to do. It's hard. It's you see stuff, comments said about you, I forget some of them that sort of stuck with me. Well, that's a good sign that I have nursed a grudge for some of the remarks. I've got pretty thick skin, but you want to please. If you want to please people, you want to do the right thing. It's hard sometimes to hear critique, but it's how we get better, and we had a pretty good response from the last survey that we did.
Yeah, the last time I looked, we were at about, I think, 82 or 83 people, and we appreciate that. And everybody gave real thoughtful feedback, and we appreciate it. And I think it goes to some of these things: employee retention, professional development, transparency. So we're already, although we haven't even reported on the numbers, we're already unconsciously thinking of all these things, and that's from hearing the voice of the people.
Mm-hmm. In the last, I've got literally like less than a minute left, but we talked about the 403B being part of some people's compensation. And if I have any message to a staff person that's watching, the people at the business meeting last week heard about it, but get signed up for your 403B. You'll see that even a small amount to get started, it is so worth it. We can't always give matches, and if things are really tight fiscally, maybe we can't. But we feel a deep responsibility to helping people plan and prepare for their retirement, and I hope that people will, start to do that more and more as we go forward. I don't know if you still talk about it when somebody comes on board, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's very important. We learned last week during that meeting, the impact of just a small amount And if the younger you do it, the more of impact it has. And I wish somebody had given me a swift kick at 25 and made me do it as well. But
Me too.
at 25, you think you're invincible and you don't need to save, and you can just save such a little bit. And then somebody said it very perfectly during that meeting. Why would you give up free money?
Yeah,
Just
it is free money.
put in at least as amount as you think that the company would match. That's free money. You wouldn't want to leave that on the table.
And this is an organization that's supporting you to help plan and prepare for retirement. Our board of directors is in full support of making this accessible to people. And we have, not even, I think, a third of all of our employees participate. So it's something that we sure want to see climb, and we will make an effort to do that. So, Karen, as always, you are a consummate professional and a delight to talk to. Thank you so much for your leadership. Your team is incredible in doing, incredible things in these very difficult times. And it was just a pleasure to have a lot longer to talk to you today. I usually feel like we're so cramped, but we were able to dedicate this time to hearing from you and to set aside our exploration into our website that we've been doing for the past couple of weeks. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks, Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. She's terrific. We love Karen, and that's good because you have to love your HR people because they're pretty important for our lives. And guys, we're feeling good. Things are on the upward turn. I can feel it. And yeah, let's go to deep space together. We got this. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.